We live in a world that allows literally anyone to produce three-dimensional music. And in my opinion, that is one of the best things to ever happen to the music industry. Let's get started. As of 2023, there are millions of videos on YouTube that go into detail on how to produce music. And this goes from being on a professional level down to the bedroom producer. And almost all of them go into detail on how to mix music in stereo. But since Apple's released their Apple AirPods Pros and Maxes with their spatial audio and their head tracking immersive experience, that raised the question for music producers, what is Dolby Atmos? Dolby Atmos is a multi-channel audio system that allows producers to mix their audio in a more immersive format. This was designed to be used with devices that allow three-dimensional metadata for playback, rather than just your average stereo left and right panning. And the reason I bring this up now is because the music industry is going out of whack on figuring out what the best techniques and how to get this integrated in music production for the average person. Now, I already know what most of you are probably thinking. How is this any different from Quad or 5.1 or any other immersive format we've had in the past? I'll get to that in a second. Now, this new format is no secret for anyone. It's been around in the film and TV industry for at least a decade. Now, I'm sure some of you guys at home have some kind of surround sound system in your home, whether it's a sound bar or a couple speakers in the back. This is what producers have been taking with video and audio and mixing between 12 or more speakers for many years. So this isn't really any new technology that we're unfamiliar with, at least for the average consumer, I mean. So why has it taken almost a decade for the music industry to catch up on this? Well, let's think about what products have actually implemented it. Well, we have the Apple AirPods line that has the head tracking. I believe the Samsung Buds also have a Dolby Atmos feature. And aside from a soundbar that's just sitting in your living room, there aren't many playback consumer devices that support Dolby Atmos. Now, Apple's been investing a lot of time in their immersive technology, especially with the Apple Vision Pros coming out this spring, allegedly. So I feel like they're about to release some new products that will be more beneficial to the immersive experience, aside from just the headphones. So we have all of this evolving technology, but not a lot to pick and choose from, especially with it being more of a luxury item right now. Why would producers want to go ahead and invest into all of these speakers and a massive setup that might not even be compatible in the next couple of years, like 5.1 or Quad or anything like that? Well, what's great about mixing in Dolby Atmos is that the metadata is compatible with anything. The file that's bounced off is an ADM BWF file, which gives you metadata that is three-dimensional. So whenever you're playing back on whatever device it is, as long as your device supports intake of a Dolby Atmos file, it will know how to play back the metadata in whatever speaker configuration you have. Let's think about it like this. Apple AirPods are not technically an immersive device, but they can provide a binaural experience that can feel more immersive. And what Apple did in this instance is they created their own spatial rendering that takes the Dolby Atmos file and takes all of that metadata and pans it accordingly within the headphones. And same thing with your iPhone. It's technically not an immersive device, but it does support Dolby Atmos playback. And what it does, it distributes that metadata into whatever speaker configuration your device has and outputs accordingly. So let's say I decide to take an instrument and pan it above me that kind of just spins and round and round. Whatever device that takes that file will output the panning according to whatever it can. So when I play back this file on my phone, it's not going to pan above me. It's just going to go left and right between the speakers. Now, it's going to make some special changes with the spatial audio rendering to make it sound more immersive, but it's not literally going to fly above me coming from my iPhone. And same thing with the AirPods Pro. But with Quad and 5.1, it wasn't as universal. You couldn't just give this file or whatever it was and expect it to work on all devices. So what do you need to get started mixing in this format? A renderer of some sort that will output to all of your devices or to your headphones properly, and two, the ability to actually pan and give this renderer the correct metadata. Now, if you're like me and use Logic Pro, you actually already have the renderer and the panning abilities built into the DAW. Now, why do we even want this ability? We're taking something perfectly good as stereo and adding an extension to it to make things more complicated. Let's take a step back to the 60s and 70s and even the early 80s. Mixing music back in the 60s only really involved one speaker. And if you had more than one speaker in your studio, they were almost always putting out the same signal. There was no left and right panning for anything. And then came the evolution of technology for the most portable way to listen to your music: headphones. So what happened in the industry is they figured out a better way to output music than just out one speaker or two speakers outputting the same signal. They found a way to get music wider. And then came along the stereo effects and stereo reverbs and double tracking your guitars and panning them left and right. Stereo became the best thing since sliced bread. The only thing wrong with stereo is that you're only getting 2 points of audio. Yes, you can make it sound like it's coming from the front, but you're not actually getting anything from the front. It's only due to a mono phenomenon. Technically speaking, yes, you are listening to the world from 2 direct points, that being your ears. You don't really listen to the world coming from 2 distinct points. Now let's say I'm taking a jog down the street and my friend decides to honk his horn behind me and get my attention just to say hi because people are weird. I almost know exactly where that honk came from due to the binaural effect of how my ears work and how everyone's ears work. And the reason we feel that these things are unnatural is because not only the conditioning over the past 50 years of stereo being the standard, but we're still figuring out how to produce music in this format. Let's take a Beatles song for example. Whenever you go to play it in headphones, you have drums panned all the way left and guitars panned all the way right, and you're only hearing Paul coming in with the guitar. And with today's standards of how you produce music, that's technically way out of this league. And with immersive production, you have to accommodate for the potential idea that someone's going to listen to an Atmos mix with just even maybe one speaker. So that means you can't smash your limiter, you can't squash the audio to get it as loud as possible. You have to accommodate for other formats. And it honestly just gives you a better opportunity to make your music sound more dynamic. I cannot stress this enough. Music needs to catch up and we need to learn how to do this very soon. Because if we don't, someone's just going to throw this in the bin and pretend it never happened. This is a beautiful format and I think everyone should know about it. Now there are caveats that make Atmos more of a learning curve compared to stereo, but the creative process that is given to producers and songwriters now completely outweighs the learning curve in my opinion. Now let's take a step back to our conversation about the average consumer device. Dolby and Apple are both investing into new technology. So it is imperative that we get these mixes right and are not sending people a bad image of what Dolby Atmos could be. Picture this: the average household having wireless speakers that are able to accommodate your point of view in the room and calibrate to how your room sounds for the Dolby Atmos experience. Oh wait, that already exists. See, technology is coming our way to be able to listen to music in the most immersive way possible. And before you know it, headphones are going to be able to emulate how a perfect Dolby Atmos room sounds. Is it going to be expensive? Probably, but it's going to get cheaper from here. The more we invest into this technology will help benefit everyone in the long run. Now, if you're wanting to get started in learning more about Dolby Atmos, I highly recommend you subscribe to my channel and click on these videos here. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next video.